Thank you for the new audience, because you're always asking insightful questions. Keep it up, keep it up. For our next keynote about navigating your career from product manager to product leader with Adrian Pica from Potter Maps, I am happy to introduce to you a seasoned leader in product management, renowned for shaping products embraced by millions of users at unicorn companies such as Bolt and Grab. Adrian's expertise extends across direct-to-consumer high-growth sectors, including mobility, delivery marketplaces, insurance, and fintech, with notable roles including VP of Product Management at Bolt and Chief Product Officer at GetSafe and Potter's Technologies. Adrian has consistently driven innovation and strategic growth. Beyond corporate endeavors, he is actively involved in launching a new project, Prețul meu, or My Price for those speaking public, a startup focused on simplifying online insurance and fintech purchases in Romania. Today, Adrian will share insights from his career journey, offering practical wisdom on navigating the transition from product manager to product leader. Please join me in welcoming Adrian to the stage.
So we're going to talk today about how to navigate your career from product manager to product leader. And whenever I talk about product management, there's usually two questions that happen. People ask, how can I become a product manager? And there's a lot of discussions around that. And then when they become a product manager, after a couple of years of getting better at product skills, they ask, how can I move from individual contributor to actually be a product leader, start influencing strategy? So this is the part that we're going to be talking today. As Elena said, my name is Adrian Pica, Chief Product Officer at Potter Maps, co-founder at prețulmeu.ro. Previously, I was Chief Product Officer at GetSafe Insurance, one of the largest neo-insurtechs in Europe, and VP of Product Management at Bolt. So I will try to kind of crystallize very practical things from my career of about 10 plus years in product management. You've probably seen this graphic before, and everyone tells you that like product should be somewhere there in the middle. Because the role of product management is the intersection of user experience, technology, business, but right now we can add another circle for probably marketing and probably data and probably AI, and we're going to keep on adding and adding skills to the toolkit of folks working in product. And what you are as a product leader, you are really this very complex interface in the business between all these areas, and your job is to drive value. And if you achieve that, or if you're on the right company, that company will probably call itself product-led. And if you're very good at it, then you are probably getting one of those t-shirts, and you can walk around the company, and whenever there's some disagreement, you can point out to the fact that you are in charge of product, and you are usually right. But it's not that easy, right? In the real world, things get a bit trickier. And what you need is some sort of combination between hard skills and soft skills. And today, we're going to be talking about both, but we're going to insist on the hard skills because, as the name says, they are harder to learn. So let's dive into it. And I will not be talking about the great skills that a good product manager needs, right? Like in technology and data and prioritization and so on. As a product manager, you are not really expected to define the value proposition of the company or to say exactly how a company should get to product to market fit. But as a product management leader, you need to choose the right problems to solve, you need to choose the right KPIs for the team, you need to arrange the team in such a way that you can get to achieve those objectives. And in order to do that, you need to get good at a few things. And one of them is something that I like to talk a lot in my presentations, which is unit economics. And this whole thing of unit economics gets down to where's the value in a certain business. And let's take an example. Let's take social media. So if you think about the value in social media, immediately you're going to say the value is advertising, right? Like this is how they make money. And they have a lot of data and a lot of insights. Therefore, they can segment and custom the messages, and they do sell better ads. And if you ask people in social media apps, they will tell you that active monthly users and active daily users are very important KPIs. But again, this is Correct. But it's just the first layer of understanding. Like, where's the true value? Well, it's in the time that users spend in the app. Like, if you would like, the KPI is minutes of eyeballs per day, right? Now, the moment you start to understand that there's value in the attention of humans being glued to the screen, that's when you start to understand a few things in the industry. Then you start to understand that gatekeepers, such as Microsoft or Apple or Google with Android, are essentially renting their screen estate to all these maps, right? Like, they're allowing them to be in their ecosystem for a famous percentage of being in their app stores. Now you can go further and you understand what's the value that, for example, Netflix or Spotify have by keeping you glued to the screen for a couple of hours a day. And if you go even deeper, you can understand why some of your favorite podcasts tend to be 2 to 3 hours per day, because this is pretty much what an average human has as attention time. So everyone is trying to kind of combine the unit economics so they can get as much of efficient attention from you in every single day. And if you understand this kind of like the root value, you can start building up the business from there. All right, let's take another example. Ride hailing. So let's compare Bolt and Uber. At first glance, what you're going to think about, right? Like, so you open the app, you see a price, right? Very easy to compare. Then you see the amount of minutes that it takes for a car to pick you up. Maybe you're going to notice how nice the app is. And like, you might be tempted to think this is how I can compare these two applications. Again, correct. But that's just the first layer. Now, if you truly want to understand the value, you need to understand the nature of the business that they are in. They are operators of a supply and demand marketplace. So what do they actually sell? Because this is the only way you create value, when you sell something. So basically what they sell is online hours of drivers. So they need the online hours to sell them. And how do you measure how well they sell them? Well, you tend to measure them with occupancy rate. So how many hours you have of your drivers online, and out of those, what's the percentage that you can sell? And of course, you have your commission there, but that's fairly easy to understand. Now, again, very important, but then you go further. And if you start to put this into some mathematical equation, you're going to understand that this type of marketplace only works for the top 2 players. Why? Because the third player as a market share will not have one or the other of the important components. They will either not have enough drivers, because, hey, there's no orders, so why do they need to be online on those apps? Or if they pay drivers to be online without driving, they're not going to have customers to have a high degree of occupancy. So that kind of like explains why, if you want to enter a market as a ride-hailing company, it's terribly expensive to be in those top 2 market share places. And we've had the case in Romania, where pretty much all the other apps that were in the ride-hailing space basically got out of the market, and only the top 2 players are there. Same in Europe, same in Africa, same pretty much in all the parts of the world. Of course, you might have a few super big, huge, busy cities where math can like allow for a third player, but if you understand where the value is in a business, in the case of these marketplaces, it's really mathematically impossible for the third player to stay in the game for too long. And that's really important for a product leader, because it's not just about the features. Another very important thing to consider is that most technology businesses are actually an online to offline business, right? There are some automation and human in the loop, right? Your job as a product leader is to mix bits and atoms and make a good business out of it. And as technologists, we may tend to be very good with the bits, but we tend to underestimate the atoms, right? Like, we underestimate that we have a marketing team, we have a go-to-market. That go-to-market usually happens in the real world. Then we have offices we need to rent, we need travel expenses, we have legal, and in a lot of cases you have local operations, you have warehouses, you have sales teams. So again, as a product leader, make sure that you don't underestimate the complexity of the atoms in your business, and make sure that you understand how to nicely mix the bits and the atoms. Next, I want to talk about a concept that I enjoy a lot, which is pockets of value. Now, the unit economics are kind of like an ever-shifting puzzle that you can recombine. And what we need to understand is that in the real world, things are never static. Competitors try to acquire market share, they execute on their marketing plans. Competitors pop up. Incumbents that we thought, hey, they are old school, all of a sudden start to innovate themselves. And on top of that, you're going to have pandemics, you're going to have economic crisis, you're going to have inflation. So when you're going to have all those macro changes in a market, there's always an opportunity to find new pockets of value that were never there. And it's important to understand, because your job as a product leader is to always be hunting for those pockets of value. And I was talking about like some of the things that can influence the creation of these pockets of value, but one thing is important. No matter how great your strategy is, how great your team is, external market forces are at least 10 times more powerful than the best strategy in the world. And of course, there's always technological progress, but there's also economic crisis, there's also pandemics. A quick example, 2008-2009 economic crisis left a lot of people unemployed. Well, at the same time, we had an explosion of the gig economy. All of a sudden, people were comfortable renting their own second bedroom. So we had all of a sudden the possibility to create Airbnb. We had food delivery and TaskRabbit because people just had extra time to sell. And we had the boom of ride-hailing businesses. This did not just happen accidentally. It happened because the economic crisis created a lot of willingness for people to do jobs that they were not really willing to do before. And now that economics were doing slightly better, we see the need to have people that kind of like migrate for economic purposes for one region to the other to fill that gap. And then we finished a couple of years of the COVID pandemic that moved everyone basically on Zoom. And you saw the effect that it had on the stock market for the Zoom stock, and also the effect that it had on the Zoom stock when the pandemic was over. And the whole stock market turned into some sort of a casino powered by folks on Reddit trying to hold or sell and so on. And I'm not even going to start talking about like meme coins and NFTs. And think what you want of that. But there was a clear pocket of value in millions of people staying at home and being paid with public money through their employers that had nothing to do with that money. So whoever understood that and took advantage of the pocket of value managed to create, or at least to jumpstart, some really interesting businesses. All right, so let's say that we understood how unit economics work, and you found an area where you spotted some value, found the pocket of value, and now it's time to articulate your value proposition. And if you do it well, you tend to get to have what people call product to market fit. And this is a funny concept because everyone tries to define it in various ways. But I have a very metaphorical way of describing it. You have product to market fit when the market starts to pull your product towards it more than you need to push it through marketing and sales. And this is nice and metaphorical, but you can also measure it. Now, if you measure cost of acquisition versus customer lifetime value as a ratio, you're going to see that if the market pulls your product, your cost of acquisition will tend to go down. Consumption will go up, so your customer lifetime value will go up. And you need to understand that because this balance of customer acquisition cost and customer lifetime value is very critical to achieve profitability. And as a product leader, you operate the business in such a way that you get to that profitability. And businesses can be very diverse. And there's not that many domains in which you can do a business. So when you look at your competitors, you tend to see very similar ingredients that you can use in order to cook a recipe for a business. So if I'm to say, what is a $30 billion per year revenue in video content, what would you say? Like, what company am I talking about? Some thoughts? Which one? Opinions? Netflix? You might be correct. 270 million users, around 30 billion yearly revenue, very low margins because they spend a lot of money on production. If you said YouTube, you're also correct. But they do this with 10 times more customer than users. The users are producing the content, and they have traditionally very high margins and a revenue share. If you thought of TikTok, well, they only produce half that revenue yet, with only 1 billion users, with shorter content, and unlike YouTube, you get to hold your phone like this. So what I'm trying to say is that you can create spectacularly successful businesses in the same domain if you use the same ingredients and you cook a different recipe with your unit economics. So just the fact that there's a big player in the domain that you are working on, don't be afraid. You can still cook a different recipe if you find a different pocket of value. And let's say you have all this figured out, right? A great strategy for a pocket of value that you want to follow because you uncovered some important area of business. Now, this long-term vision, while important, is not sufficient for you to build what you need. Why? Because on the way, you're going to have to build things, so you can't just isolate yourself for 2 years and build. You're going to need to release stuff. So one of the other complicated jobs of a product leader is to break that vision into small little pieces and make sure that at every single sprint, every single month, every single quarter, you deliver value. And if you work in large companies, aligning with everyone else in the company and timing that and getting support and managing these dependencies smoothly is a very complicated task. And that involves one of the other buzzwords in the product world, stakeholder management. And when you ask about stakeholder management, people say, well, you need to get to know people, spend some time with them, ask them about their family, their hobbies, their pets. Correct, but this is good advice just to be a decent human being and a decent colleague. As a product leader, you need to understand that these people also have career goals. Some of them are in their first 90 days. Some of them want to increase the size of their teams. Some of them want to start to use some new technology. Someone just wants less on their plate because maybe they have a new kid, or they have a new hobby, or they are working on their startup. If you understand the needs and priorities of the other leaders that you need to manage as stakeholders, then you can come up with the features, the vision, and the plan that doesn't just help you, but helps them as well. Because in a company, in order to get things going, you need to work as a team. If you start working with just me, and my problems, and my vision, and my KPIs, you will not get very far. And this is not just politics, it's just humans. The purpose is to mix humans and get them to work efficiently together. And of course, we can't just talk about stakeholders without talking about the people that you hire. Because great teams don't just happen. And I'm not talking about, compensation and culture and all these things which are absolutely important. I'm talking about one of the most essential kind of jobs of a product leader, to hire the right people, but most importantly, to not hire the wrong people. Because the wrong people will just not deliver value in an area, in a pocket of value that you entrusted them to. So this is such a missed opportunity, because it's not just they are kind of demoralizing the team and there's not great execution, but you're missing out on revenue just because you put the wrong person there. And when you start to realize that, it's pretty unpleasant to manage them out. It's unpleasant for you, it's unpleasant for everyone in the team, and it's definitely unpleasant for that person. And sometimes it might not be their fault. It could be very well your fault, because I said the right person. That means you might have a great candidate that you hired for the wrong job. So take the example of a very experienced product manager in an established company in a business-to-business space, and you're hiring for a business-to-consumer, fast-growing company where things are very uncertain. Great candidate, quite probably wrong fit for your company. And you're doing that person a great disservice. You get them to quit on a job or say no to other offers, and you bring them in your team while knowing that they might not succeed. So my advice, which is kind of like the same of a famous blog post, if it's not a hell yeah, then it should probably be a no. That's very important when it comes to hiring. And you hire the great people. You have this team, you have the vision, you have all the unit economics arranged, but you still need to balance your leadership and management style, because people are different in your team. And please don't be one of those leaders that go around and say, hey, this is how I am, this is how I work, so you better do as I say. Your job as a product leader is to extract the maximum value of your team. And because people are different, some are at the beginning of their career, some have different priorities, some people just need some push, some people need more coaching, some people need some tough love, some people need just trust and independence and some willingness to accept some minor mistakes. And of course, all the things I talked about today is not an exhaustive list. There's other things, and they can't just be developed overnight. So the moment you start your product career as a product manager, you should start building on those to make sure that the moment you get the opportunity, you can influence the business. And I said the business word quite often, because this is what you really need to understand. It's a complex group of people that needs to have a positive financial outcome. And the business part is most likely the part where you need to get better at your skills. And I'm going to leave you with two recommendations. One of them is a book, the other one is a podcast. The book is The Success Equation from Michael Mauboussin. It explains quite nicely the power of market forces, and it talks a lot about skills and luck and how important luck is, and skills are, less. Just read it. It's like Nassim Taleb, but for business. And if you like it, do go and read the other things he wrote about. The other one is a podcast that is usually 3 to 4 hours long. And it dives super deep into a lot of businesses, from very standard old school businesses to brand new technology companies. And it explains exactly what I was talking about. Where is the real value in a company? Where's the real value in a business? And I listen to that at every single episode they come out with. If you want to talk more about product, or if you want to discuss how to build a better product organization, feel free to reach out. My name is Adrian Pica. Thank you very much.